Hey, friends and family. How are you doing today? How's your heart today? Just wanted to share a few things in this continuous stream of learning and awakening, continuity. And yeah, this psychic processing. It's like always, always processing something. Yeah, within me. Anyways, that's how it feels. That's how it seems to be. But yeah, just getting some different messages and just following different threads and just enjoying this adventure. And yeah, just being here now and wanting to really take some certain actions to move forward with some of my dreams I've had and some of the things that I've been given to share. So yeah, it's all about sharing all the love. My heart's super happy and full and joyful and feeling, really light and free right now. And feeling that joy and feeling that peace. And so I just opened up my Divine Feminine Oracle Guidebook because I've been looking at that a lot the last couple days at some different cards that I drew and some different energies and goddesses. And looking at some of their gifts and their medicines and their qualities that they hold. And also we have all those aspects within ourselves. And so it's just like so awesome to see that, through the sacred mirror and the sacred hoop, the circle of all things, the circle of everything. In the circle, we are all equal. In the circle, no one is above, no one is below. In the circle, no one is in front, no one is behind. We are all one. So just playing with those things and unifying the two within me that were in conflict and imbalance, disharmony. And really looking into, a lot of these things that I felt I needed to resolve for me. And some of it doesn't need any fixing. It just needs like recognition and acceptance and receptivity and inclusivity and humility, forgiveness and accountability. And then it can be transformed and transmuted through grace and through like this love that flows through everything. Nature's always seeking balance, and I feel like our soul's always seeking that balance too. And it's super interesting, that play that happens, that sacred play. But the one that I opened to again is kind of in the middle of the book, it seems, like almost in the middle. And it's all about joy, the joy permeated mother, Anandamaya Ma. I am my own guru. I know the self that never changes. When your soul selects her card, there's a passage in Autobiography of a Yogi that relates an encounter that he had with Anandamaya Ma. And he asks her why she was always filled with joy and she can enter like these states of bliss instantly. She explains to him that she's aware of her true self. She knows that before she came to earth, she was the same. As a little girl and later when she grew into a woman, she was still the same. And now, sitting in front of Yogananda, she still remains the same. And even after death, she says, through the dance of creation changes around me, I shall be the same. Though the dance of creation changes around me, I shall be the same. This is self-realization merging with that aspect within us that never changes. It's becoming conscious of the self that is eternal while within this brief mortal existence. Anandamaya Ma believed that the only true calling or purpose any of us have is to become realized. And so she believed that any action we take toward that goal is sacred. There's a deep, calm, abiding joy that arrives when we can merge with that aspect of us that never changes. There is a bliss we get to experience every time we detach from the surface storms that cause chaos in our lives. If we can remember that we are the guru, that we are an aspect of the divine that remains the same no matter how much change surrounds us, then we get to arrive at a joy that lives at the core of our being. Soul voice meditation. What does joy feel like in my body? Intention. I am my own guru. I know the self that never changes. So super awesome message to receive. I love this oracle deck, the Divine Feminine Oracle by Meggan Watterson. Super loving it. Like that wasn't even like one of the ones that I had in mind after coming back from a trip, but it was one that was that came up, and I was like, yeah, I think I want that one. And it's just like, wow, it's just amazing. Just loving all of these beautiful things that I get to receive for me and allow to unfold, for my whole being. Through this love that I be, and through this love that's always shared, offered, given, presented here with me and all around me, surrounding me. And that's like that joy and that peace and that calm when I can remember, all those things, like no matter what's happening around me, there is always that joy at the core of my being, and that peace and that, safe place within me, that home within me that holds all of me, wherever I am and wherever I happen to be on my journey or stages of my awakening, whatever's happening around me. I can be held here in this space within me through love always. And one of the things that I was, doing my best to reconcile, to make room for, was the light and the shadow, and the wounded masculine and the healed masculine, and the wounded feminine and the healed feminine. The dark and the light, because they both have their part. And I've always seen, well, not always, but I started to look at like some of these things in a different way. Through my journey the last 10 years, through different stages of awakening, I have had different guides and different gurus and different teachers and different elders and different mirrors show up for me to help me learn some of these things. And I always appreciate the messages and like the relationships that show me what my soul is really asking me or offering me or showing me or leading me towards or leading me through. And one of those things, was how to reconcile the human part of me and the divine part of me, the part of me that never changes. And how, because it was like, in a lot of ways, like I rejected both of them. And so, of course, I never felt whole or enough, complete or adequate. So like just sharing the other day about some inferiority and superiority complexes and certain programs that I realized had been running and kept me stuck in some of these old dysfunctional patterns that were super imbalanced. And so, just kind of looking at some of those things. And I had shared a few things about some of these imbalanced relationships and some of the mirrors that were held up for me to look into and to so I could go within myself to see the whole truth. And so it's just like a lot of little things, synchronicities coming up for me. And so after I had shared a little video yesterday, I picked open my book, The Christ Blueprint, because I wanted to review Holy Law and Ruthless Compassion. But actually, what I flipped open to was pretty awesome. And it was 289. And it was the son, Melchizedek, I believe. Let's see. Yep, it was the son, Lord Melchizedek. And it was like, wow, freaking amazing. Just because like I had been also playing with this idea about sometimes we tend to underestimate or devalue or dismiss some of the little things, some of the small things, or some of the details, or certain little things, like little things. Sometimes life, the best things in life aren't things. But yeah, it's all about the little things that make up the great things, like the seed, like becomes, the plant or the flower, and the acorn becomes the mighty oak. And yeah, just these little things. I mean, and looking at the insect world too, because I love the animal totems and all of the gifts and the qualities that they can show us and teach us and help us learn how to master. And so, yeah, the insect world and the micro world's very super interesting. And it seems to be like very, very violent as well. And yeah, it's pretty intense. Way more intense than like, other parts of nature sometimes, like that we could see, And so I always am looking at like the predator and prey relationship, because they are both legitimate, and they can show us a lot of things about ourselves, about, our own processes and things, and like maybe where we have an imbalance in certain areas. And so, I'd been looking at some things, and Ladybug had been showing up. I almost shared that the other day, but I just kind of kept it like shorter than, I'm still working on some things, like letting go of control of what I think I'm supposed to do or how it's supposed to go. But, it's just a work and play, and it's just a fun thing just to learn and just to be here and just to like do my best, to let go and remember it's okay not to know, even when I have like an agenda of something I want to share because it's exciting or it's inspiring and things. And sometimes I don't even get to like some of those things that like I initially think I'm going to come on here and share about, and it just has, it takes on a life of its own sometimes. Or it's just an interesting thing to observe and to watch and allow for myself. But Ladybug had come up. Like this whole month, actually, there's been a lot of ladybugs I've seen. And a beetle, of course, like they're part of the beetle family. And so, there's been a lot of, a lot of the beetle coming up for me, and the scarab. And so that's all about resurrection and regeneration and, the solar light and, moving towards the light and all of those things, and change and good luck and fortune. And so it's just kind of funny. Like I was just reading just a little bit about Ladybug for curiosity's sake yesterday. Just pulled up some article, and the message was basically like that. No matter how small a creature is, it can make a big difference. And so Ladybug helps, clear some of the pests from the plants and helps with that pest cleanup. And so like they can like consume a lot of aphids like that destroy, like our flowers and our plants. But of course the aphids have a role to play as well, and it's right for them to be, in the circle of all things. But sometimes when there is an imbalance and we need that predator-prey relationship to help bring it into balance. And so super interesting how ladybugs are seen as like really cute and like kind of like the fairy realm sort of, and like just fond memories of childhood. Like sometimes when we're so grossed out about bugs, but then there's certain insects that we do love. So it's kind of funny to see that too. Like, maybe we don't really like the caterpillar all that much because it's pretty ugly. But then when it turns into a butterfly, or like, just like the preferences that we have, some things, or our learned, I guess, conditioning, like just how we judge things or value things over other things. And so it's just like kind of good for me to look at like how like sometimes we can extra or overcompensate and minimize certain things and then inflate other things. So all these things that relate, it's just so fun. And I don't know if it's like coherent, but it all relates. So that's the great thing about it. yeah, all these things. And so, working with Ladybug and seeing into like a lot of these things, into a lot of these old beliefs and imprintings and things that we pick up, unconsciously. And like, it's just part of our everyday, like the way we see things or perceive things, because it's how we've been taught to see things. And we don't even know where some of our reactions or our judgments or our assumptions come from. It's just like, it's due to, this programming that we didn't even know was being programmed into us. And so, yeah, it's fun to look at. So I was looking at Ladybug and, and the interesting symbolism of beetle and all of that. And then also looking at dragon, because dragon's been coming up. Dragon's been coming up like all year, really. But ever since I got my dragon tattoo, I've been seeing dragons everywhere. And so, yeah, that's kind of fun. Like on one scale, the powerful dragon, and then the quaint little ladybug that's a dragon in her own right. So it's kind of fun to see that. And just how these things do relate. What I read in the Christ Blueprint yesterday, it did have a lot to do with actually accepting our humanity and our divinity, and also like looking into and appreciating and valuing like the small things, the little things, the things that maybe we've devalued or dismissed about ourselves that are actually really great gifts that we have to be and to share and to give and to embody and to to like give, forgiving, and service to the whole. And so, like, yeah, that's what I got out of this book, is that the littlest thing that maybe we have overlooked, maybe that is like, that shows us to our true path, like, and what we're here, like, to share and who we're here to be. And so it was so fun to see some of those things. And also, like, kind of looking at the father wound in a way as well. And so I'll just share a little bit of this. Son, Lord Melchizedek, the shadow side. Peter exemplifies the inner battle that we all feel at different times in our lives, the inner fight between human and divine. His human side, like all of us, could be confused, doubtful, and plain ignorant. Yet this is a parable to us all. Nobody is perfect, and we all have our foibles, our weaknesses. This is also what makes us human. Knowing yourself entails this as well. Knowing yourself entails this as well. The human side is what anchors Christ consciousness. Acknowledging this allows us to join and work with others freely and as a family, not in isolation or aloofness masquerading as oneness. So the human side is what anchors Christ consciousness. Acknowledging this allows us to join and work with others freely and as a family, not in isolation or aloofness masquerading as oneness. When we all work together as one being in many bodies with the same purpose, we share and expand all that is good and beautiful. The second aspect of the shadow side of Peter is reluctance to let go. The sense of duty that arrives through the Father's principle is both noble and ignoble. Duty, service, and leadership become excuses for not including the feminine aspects of rest and receptivity. He maketh me lie down in green pastures, as Psalm 23 says. The father needs to recognize his role as supporter, as the rock, the pillar, the one you can rely on, both internally and externally, when the world comes crashing down. This also entails fluidity, gentleness, and humility. It is when a father's knowledge clamps down on his child, when a father tells a son or a daughter what to do instead of listening and responding to their needs, that control happens. To embody the father for a woman is to be both detached and caring. Instead of looking on the outside for the father, seeking approval or love, one looks inside to find one's own protector, comforter, caregiver, and power. The reliable one who always gives unconditionally to you is within you. The one who is always looking out for your best interests is within you. The one who asks for nothing in providing you with everything is also within you, seeking to be called upon, used in action, and integrated. A woman's lack of self-worth can also, in many instances, stem from this hole of a father figure. The father is God to his daughter, so if there is lack of care, recognition, attention, or love, the daughter feels she has not done something right and tries to make up for it. She tries to make her father see her, approve of her, and love her. The daughter, or inner female, feels she has nothing of value and feels unworthy. When she is not received, she starts to feel unworthy of even God's love and starts to seek for this approval or recognition through a substitute father, authority, or a guru figures in sexual relationships, and through exhibitionism of various kinds. This is a huge problem on this planet. The solution is to look at what is filling up the hole for you. Look at your relationships with your father figures, which we all have, but which you may have out of balance. Ask how they make you feel, what conflicts arise, what you need from them. When one starts to embody the Father within, one becomes more spacious in witnessing of emotions and is able to manifest more, able to land more on earth. One is no longer scared to be here, and one feels worthy and able to contribute fully. I thought that was amazing. Here we'll continue. It's being strong. Peter, like Thomas and Judas, stood more by himself. Peter, like Thomas and Judas, stood more by himself, resolutely doing his duty and fulfilling his part of the blueprint. This rock aspect shows the brave, invulnerable face that others can rely on and trust to be there. That is always immovable. This responsibility to be strong for everyone can stop you from being open, vulnerable, and human. You can become frozen, no longer flowing with your feelings, becoming isolated, alone, and trapped in your role. Having to put on a certain face to keep things going can lead us into stagnation and lack of self-love. Here, if we cry and express our weakness or vulnerability, we feel that others will feel scared, no longer having a rock to lean on, and we feel we have neglected our responsibility to others, to God, by dropping our facade of invulnerability. Here we take responsibility for others also, denying them their lessons for growth and empowerment, rather than taking full responsibility for ourselves and our own feelings. We draw a subtle boundary line around ourselves, saying, this is what I am and this is what I am not, creating a separation. We cease to treat others equally as we feel we need to be an example for them, and we subtly place ourselves apart from others. This is huge. This creates a subtle separation, a subtle placing of yourself onto a pedestal, which then leads to resentment, as those placing you on a pedestal will try to knock you down eventually. This is because they are also separating from themselves in this action and not fully venerating their own selves, projecting it outside as often. That is the easiest thing to do for many people rather than to own it themselves. Friendship with the human side means that we share our own good times and bad times with others. We open up and express our vulnerabilities, our loneliness, releasing our secret burdens of having to be there for others without including all of our own selves. Humans bond through sharing the common thread of all that we experience and all we come together in this sharing and empathy to form one common thread that cares for and loves each other. Humans bond through sharing the common thread of all that we experience and we all come together in this sharing and empathy to form one common thread that cares for and loves each other. When we cease to flow and embrace life in order to be the pillar of strength that everyone and everything depends on, we lose a part of ourselves. Crying, being gentle with ourselves, and dropping deep into the vulnerable heart allows the rock-like confidence and attitude of the I don't need anyone, as I have it all, to become seen as there is no one here for me and I am all alone. I am alone. Yeah, to break this pattern is to commune and to be open to all human beings. Yeshua himself did this as he learned from everyone in the human experience. So go out now and share your time being present with another that you could not normally spend time with. This could be a beggar, a rampant materialist, someone you know you do not get on with, while at the same time being who you are without having to teach or heal them. Enjoy and have fun with it. I thought that was super awesome. And I actually ended up reading the whole entire chapter. But yeah, what I got from these little things, it was such a great synchronicity because this is all the things I've been working with, like with seeing like how I took a lot of different things on, and I had that like kind of Atlas complex, and that made me, self-important. There were certain things I could do and I couldn't do, and there were and it was just all like a lot of it was unconscious, but some of it was conscious. And so, but the reasons behind the agendas were not conscious; they weren't clear. And so now it's a little more clear, and so it's kind of fun, like to see like these things that come up, and it's just an awesome message that relates, and it can help me integrate like some of these things. And so, yeah, that was super interesting for me to see how I had separated myself and how I had put my own self or allowed myself to be placed on a pedestal and play that role of the rescuer and the caregiver and the one, that, would be there to help clean it up and to, pick up all the pieces and stuff. And it was my job to fix it, I don't know why it was, but for some reason I took on that job of being the fixer or the one that could make it better or more comfortable and like kind of not allowing others to have their own lessons, their own consequences, their own growth and empowerment. And so, and that was super interesting. And also like the things that I've been seeing around my own relationship with my dad and how, it was really easy for me years and years and years ago to call in the Great Mother and to work with the mother wound and the healed mother. But for some reason I kind of neglected that father within myself and the father that I could be like for my whole self, like that father aspect that I can work with and I can integrate within my own internal family system. So, it was super awesome for me to look at, and where it does go along so well with some of these relationship dynamics and these toxic patterns that I've been dissolving and transforming and asking, just asking to be shown like how to unify these things within myself for internal harmony and balance. And so the feminine, the leaving out of the feminine side is the shadow of Peter. This feminine side provides us with great strength allied with sensitivity that is fluid and accepting of all. Peter asks us all to honor the masculine, to be the pillar of self that needs nothing outside of itself. And that's amazing. Peter asks us all to honor the masculine, to the pillar of self that needs nothing outside of itself. The male is self-contained, needing no relationship in its essence, while the feminine is all about relationship and interconnection. This polarity is referenced in the sparring between Peter and Magdalene 2,000 years ago and their mutual distrust of each other. Both have keys to share, yet both never really fully understood each other. Both have to reconcile, trust, recognize, and honor the other for what they do, who they are, and what Yeshua left with each of them. Mary, an aspect of the feminine Christ, did not trust Peter and held back, protecting her keys from him. Peter did not understand her and therefore refused to give her authority or power in the world. This game has continued for thousands of years in the collective consciousness, which is a symptom of why feminine teachings have been buried and have not been revealed to the general public. Today, Peter is the midwife for Magdalene's birthing, whereas before Magdalene, he was the midwife for Yeshua's birthing. The mirror has turned, and the keys that Yeshua left them both can now be activated, as the male authority to activate things in public awareness can now be used to serve the feminine understanding of love and life. In observing the strength of the feminine, of the flowing life force, men can evolve and deepen into their true nature. The masculine expression of love alone is not strong enough to withstand the pressures of the outside world. Only the softer yet stronger feminine love can do this. Lack of empathy, softness, and kindness can make us close off into our shell of service, working hard in the masculine to make up for the relaxing into the feminine. Trusting the feminine instead of battling with it allows us to live a flowing lifestyle where the feminine qualities of feeling and sharing non-verbally and emotionally are equally balanced with the active doing qualities of the masculine. These imbalances of yin and yang, of power and direction versus receptivity and rest, are the hallmark of modern culture. We are driven by a Peter culture of yang, of achieving, of doing, of productivity, of sharing the gospel, celebrating our busyness and how great and productive we are in our doing. We measure our sense of self-worth, or how little self-worth we have, through how busy we are and how much we can do. As a whole, inaction is seen as weak and ineffective in getting ahead with our lives. This leads to self-destruction and depletion, for yang is limited. It needs constant replenishing by being harmonized with yin, which regenerates, restores, and fortifies it. Imbalance is destructive on a body-mind level, as well as being destructive on a global level, with a destruction of the environment, war, and conflict. Yin would never initiate a war or sustain one. Only yang versus yang can create that, and yin would never deplete itself through outward action, as the innate nature is rest and receptivity. It is yin that allows space and time in our schedules to be empty and spacious, not needing to fill in the gaps in our busy lives, because it is fulfilled within itself. Rest allows the right activity that will most benefit you and others to arise. Without this, we enter imbalance, where more and more stress-related illnesses arise, as the body-mind is not built to remain in yang spaces for long periods of time. Thus, we remain depleted and stressed. The rock then becomes stuck and inflexible, caught in its own thought structures and ways of being that do not allow itself to be challenged or rest in the feminine. The body-mind is built to remain in harmony between yin and yang for indefinite periods of time. The body-mind is built to remain in harmony between yin and yang for indefinite periods of time. We can do this by spending more time doing nothing, resting, and relaxing in a yin way. And so that's fun to see that. And the next chapter was chapter 23, The Witness, Thomas. Yeshua said, "Let thine eye be single and thy body full of light. Let thine eye be single and thy body full of light. I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the emotions. There is but one incarnation, there is but one being. What can I say of male or female, this and that, right and wrong? What can I say of relationship, mother, father, brother, sister? All are not mine. Void and world are one. I have neither need nor lack of need. I have neither hope nor no hope. I have neither family nor friends, yet all beings are my family and friends. There is neither a self nor is there not a self. There is neither a you, me, a superior being, a teacher or student. I am the unchanging self, the same in every one." This is amazing. One cannot even speak of something separate from the self. How can there be two in the one? One cannot speak of one. One cannot speak of what does not exist. How then can I speak of similar or dissimilar? I have never been formless or with form. I have never had a beginning or end. This is the peace that lies beyond understanding, the stillness where all understanding arises from. Here, everything is eternal, everything is consciousness. So, wow. Super, super amazing. Yeah. And the cool thing is last night I was looking again at the Divine Feminine Oracle, and one of the goddesses that came up, and I think it was Lolita, and she was all about joy. And what she was saying was that, our desire is holy, and the way that, we manifest those desires, and the trick of that, of holding that desire, is by holding it lightly, by knowing that it's not separate from ourselves, that our desire is not separate from who we really are. Yeah, it's not separate. And so I loved receiving that message. And also, there was some fun synchronicities yesterday. I love numerology. Oh my gosh, I love the numerology. And it's just, it's so fun, this play. And it's just amazing. Like, really, there's, it's so trippy and so fun every day. Like, and seeing the magic in life and the magic in my world. I just love it. And this adventure and this treasure hunt. Seeing the magic. So, just looking at some of these things, and also wanting to kind of make some thoughts coherent and a little more cohesive. Some some things that I've been playing with. And so I just get to start writing about some of these things that I've learned about these mirrors and the sacred mirror of relationship. And so, and how much that's helped me see where I was out of balance within my own self, with some of these aspects within me. And so I'm super grateful, for all of my teachers and my reflections that helped me to know myself and to come back home to me. So just looking at, some of these things and remembering snail medicine right now, and the spirals, such an amazing symbol, and just loving all of these things with wonder, awe, and curiosity, innocence, peace, and unself-consciousness, humility, faith, strength, and grace, remembrance, creating heaven on earth from within. Sophia Christos. Yes. The Sophia Code, liberation, green Terra, ruthless compassion, holy law, death and rebirth, courage and devotion, strength and grace, wild woman, freedom and authenticity, value and appreciation. So what perspectives have I not fully valued or disallowed or dismissed? And I did look into that, and it was my own experience, my own perspectives that I dismissed and devalued, and also the ones that threatened my false identity. So kind of looking at some of my relationships in the last couple years that I would love to share more about, and how much that really gave me by allowing it to be what it was, and letting go of trying to make the other person wrong or myself wrong, and clearing out some of those, stepping out of those judgments and some of those old patterns, where, I realize there's survival mechanisms and strategies and coping mechanisms to help me navigate through the darkness. But now that I've grown through certain experiences and shed some old skin, and feeling that skin, that new softer skin, that's a lot more sensitive to growing in, and kind of recalibrating. It's just all about a recalibration, really. This is what it is. Maybe that thought will come back. But just going into deeper levels and excavating, and also just being willing to be shown instead of trying to figure it all out as well. But it is like so fun, like to go on this little scavenger hunt sometimes, you know. It's such a fun little thing to do. Such a fun game. So Ladybug shows us that small creatures can make a big difference. Interesting how we can dismiss or devalue the little things in life, or the things that don't seem as lofty or big or important. Yeah, how we can value other things over other things. I mean, we have preferences and prejudices and all those things, and things that we're comfortable, things that we like, things that we don't like, and that's all right. It's just like, can we step into that witness, because there's a whole other, reality waiting, like to be seen and noticed. So, Mouse helps us see the details, and Eagle helps us see the bigger picture, or with wider, fuller vision, a fuller perspective. I'm just thinking out loud, LOL, and then I'm following this thread that leads me to the discovery of my own true path. And so the Christ blueprint that I read, and I flipped open to page 289, read the whole entire chapter. And then I went back to Holy Law and Prophet Moses, and then I read the entire chapter of Thomas the Witness. Oh my God, that's crazy and cool synchronicities for me. I'm still in processing after what I shared in a 33-minute video today, Love All Ways. In the circle, we are all one. In the circle, we are all equal. There is a light that never goes out. And so I am home within myself. I am home within myself. Letting go of pride, vanity, insecurity, doubt, shame, fear, desire strategies. So some of these relationships that have taught me more about me and where I was giving my power away, where I wasn't fully honoring it or owning it for myself, because it was easier. It was a lot easier. And it was just automatic, kind of like an automatic slide into like this role that I was supposed to play, getting stuck in my own role and different things in different ways. And so it was just so fun to see. You can be afraid and brave at the exact same time. Don't wait for perfect circumstances, perfect confidence, or the absence of doubt. You'll wait for too long. Be afraid and brave. Show up scared and prove your courage in your actions, like to yourself. So confidence comes from the doing and the showing up, not from the perfection. Confidence builds by taking action in spite of the fear. Afraid and brave. That's the key. Jamie Veron. And so, yeah, that was something a little nugget I picked up the other day. It was just like, yes. Courage is a gift that bestows us with power. Devotion. Yeah. Through devotion. Strength, energy, wisdom. That is our greatest. Yeah. That courage, that devotion. When we have that devotion, we're bestowed with the gift of courage and with the energy, power, and light that is greater than our own, that can move through us in service to the whole. And just seeing more into that. And so what else can be shared around this? So I dismissed certain little things that actually were kind of important details because of the cognitive dissonance and the enmeshment trauma and the attachment to an identity that was formed and that kept being reinforced and projected. And so can see where I was stuck in certain loops and in certain rigid structures. So super interesting, to see this process revealed to me. And I'm grateful for all the players who got to play their parts for me and all the parts I got to play for others as well. And so one thing I was thinking of was that, if somebody's otherness is a threat to you, that's a program that's still running and reinforcing. not owning all of you. And so just kind of looking at those things as well. If someone else is a threat, if we can't be challenged, or if our beliefs can't be challenged, what are we clinging on to, and what are we possessed by, or what are we, what's got a hold over us, what's got a chokehold on us, what's keeping us from receiving anything else, or being able to look at or consider or receive anything else. And so I can understand like the fear and the desire strategies and all of those things, and why it's so scary, like to have our reality collapse and the tower fall. But it's painful and it can be devastating. And sometimes it is just the darkest night of the soul there is. When we lose, our foundation, or that structure of what we invested all of our energy into and built our lives upon, when that all comes crashing down and it all washes away, it can be very devastating, and we feel like life is ending and it's all over. And it is a form of death. That shamanic death and rebirth process, and that death of the ego. But the ego gets to be reborn as well, in service to the soul, in service to the whole. Yes, we need the ego. That ego can be our best ally to help us navigate. And it's not rejecting our human side, like to transcend all of this. It's integrating it within us and purifying and transforming it and transmuting it and transfiguring through the light, and coming into the light. And so, that's what kind of relates to the first part of the son, Melchizedek. And I was so super impressed with, this whole entire book. I don't think I've read the whole thing, but I've read big chunks of it at different times. And it's just like going in a circle, kind of like, and there is no sequential order really to it. And it's just like, unique in certain ways. I feel like, we could be on like different parts of our journey because they're all simultaneous, in a way. And then, we circle back around and we go into like deeper layers of it, and like through the spiral and all of that. So fun, like all these symbols and concepts of the divine feminine wisdom, So the son, Lord Melchizedek. Melchizedek, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of God. Hebrews 7:3. One cannot understand Peter and why Yeshua placed so much trust in him without understanding who Peter was guided by. Lord Melchizedek is a guardian principle of the immortal Father, the Father of wisdom and seeing. He first appears in modern history as the king priest ruling in Salem, today's Jerusalem. Melchizedek is the first model of Christ consciousness. His role is as civilization builder, laying the foundation for Christ consciousness as the King of Peace. He is the dynastic head of a godly civilization, and as such, he was on earth long before Yeshua, setting the foundations for the Egyptian and Atlantean mystery schools, and beyond that to the very creation of earth itself. He has always held the foundation of Christ consciousness, whose aim it is to establish an enlightened civilization on earth. For Christ consciousness is civilization-oriented, not just personal salvation-oriented. It is for the benefit of all beings, for there can be no personal salvation without collective salvation included within it as the true unfolding of the one soul of love. The sun. I am the sun. Gaze into me. Many millennia ago, I merged with what you call the sun, and through this portal, I was able to tangibly connect my consciousness to many other stars, galaxies, and sentient planets in this universe and the next. In this process of merging and with the sun, I anchored the solar power onto Earth through human form. To merge with the sun is to merge with the collective reflection of humanity, the collective transmission of humanity outward into the cosmos that is filtered through the sun and which the sun reflects back to the earth, which then becomes purified through those beings whose role this is. One could call this process sacrifice, crucifixion, and resurrection. Have the actions of Christ been done before on earth? Yes. Will they be done again? Yes. Are they happening right now? Yes. There are so many ways to purify the collective consciousness through your vehicle. Gaze into the sun every day. In this gazing, ask for its reflection, power, and light to be returned to you and purified through your vehicle. For the sun is the reflection and purifier of the feelings and the thoughts of humanity, and a vehicle to bring the solar light down deep into your mind. And then there's a practice here of, the one sun, the one heart practice. So I think that was pretty awesome to see that. And then it goes on to talk about the order of the Melchizedek. So Christ's priesthood is declared by God to be after the order of Melchizedek. Paul justifies Yeshua's priesthood on the ground that it is like that of Melchizedek. The order of Melchizedek priests came from Yeshua, which he was then given the keys to in order to reestablish Christ consciousness for this age on earth through any and all means appropriate. When Christ took on human form and experienced the trials of a man, he attained the status of high priest of the order of Melchizedek. Melchizedek comes before Christ in the messianic lineage, and Yeshua had to suffer his trials before he was seen fit to enter into the priesthood of Melchizedek. Although he was a son, he learned obedience through what he suffered, and being made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation to all who obey him, being designed or designated by God a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. The order of Melchizedek is one of the longest running priesthoods on earth, stretching back to the first Christ-conscious civilizations on earth, and is composed of highly evolved beings who have dedicated themselves to the benefit of humanity wherever and whenever that is possible. The priesthood is not conferred by any earthly authority, but directly from the Holy Spirit and Melchizedek. Certain men and women have been called to this priesthood before the beginning of the world and are by nature true priests, according to the order of Melchizedek. The feminine equivalent is the order of the Magdalene. Like Melchizedek himself, the priests and the priestesses of the order are intermediaries between Christ and humanity. The priest is a representative of the Christ, and his or her service is to act as a servant and a builder of Christ-conscious civilization. They may not be known as priests or reverends, but their actions show that they are here to help. Yeshua gave Peter keys to the kingdom, for Yeshua had been given them by Melchizedek before him, which he then renewed to bring fresh life to the Melchizedek priesthood. This is why Yeshua made Peter the rock of the church, because he was the link in the chain of the Melchizedek priesthood that was the foundation of Christ consciousness on earth. It had been secured so that Hades will not overpower it. The Melchizedek priesthood is eternal. Once a person has been ordained, their priesthood cannot be revoked, but continues from incarnation to incarnation. The priest is a priest by virtue of what they are and what they have attained in this and past lifetimes. Any priest in the order of Melchizedek feels humanity's suffering in their heart, and their fulfillment lies in the service and transformation of humanity as a whole. Being initiated into the various stages of the order of the Melchizedek gives a connection with the oldest solar initiate on earth, Melchizedek himself, and leads to more and more gifts being given through you to transform humanity. Melchizedek gave Yeshua confirmation that the Father on earth was now seeing and recognizing him as the Son of God. For Melchizedek is the name of the high priest of the lineage of Christ, and Yeshua is this high priest. In essence, they are one and the same, and this is a potential that Peter held also. Melchizedek's aim is to bring people together in oneness as the foundation for an enlightened society. He fosters communication and encourages the sharing of our own unique talents to benefit the whole in a round table where a circle is formed without feelings of superiority or inferiority. It is through this principle of an enlightened society that we recognize the common source of our own humanity and can celebrate it with others in joy, enabling us as a collective to consciously link together in the eternal patterns of creation. Bringing this principle into the physical, the principle of oneness and many bodies communing together is a gift of Melchizedek. As the new paradigm begins, Melchizedek reveals more and more in order to share the original keys of love and the technologies of light to humanity. He also shows that Yeshua was one of many Christ-conscious beings and that we have the capacity to be like this also. So awesome, beautiful stuff right there. And one more thing to share. I had flipped open my Enchanted map oracle card books, and one was about cleaning house. Surprise, surprise. And that goes well with our new moon in Virgo that we're having today. And Virgo's going to help us clean it up and make the room and make the space for this new life to live and to be born through. And so, it's so awesome, like all of these energies. And I always like I'm seeing like all of these things. And it's so fun how they just pop up to play and so great. So the cleaning up the house, time to clean up some stuff. Get organized and inspired. It's so cleaning house. It's time to clear the clutter to make way for better things. When you see the cleaning house card in a reading, it's time to declutter your life. So get rid of unwanted things in your physical home and release what you no longer want or you truly need. Is there any unfinished business you should address? Thoughts, memories, and emotional baggage must be swept out of your house as well. Your conscience must be clear for you to move freely in the world. So celebrate a spring cleaning and feel the freedom as you make way for much better things. Look at what you've resisted and discarding, and be honest about its value. Be honest. Clean house. And then there's metamorphosis. You are in the process of deep and beautiful change. Butterflies earn their wings through great effort. The process of change is often painful, for it is never without losses and sacrifices. If you are to transform from one form to another, a part of you needs to die. Letting go isn't easy, especially when you're used to thinking a certain way about your life and how you live it. Just as a snake sheds its dead skin or a caterpillar dies so that a butterfly can be born, you're required to release your old ideas and embrace a necessary change so you can live your best life. Perhaps you're being asked to let go of low self-worth, a dream that no longer serves you, a relationship that is draining, or unhealthy habits. Despite your fear, you must accept that this is a transformational time for you. There will be some loss involved, but you'll love what you become. And then I just wanted to include the reversed on this one. There are times of chaos and darkness that occur, much like the growing pains experienced by the caterpillar who is in the process of becoming a butterfly. There is a tendency to expect the worst when the first signs of difficulty arise, when something is taken away or unwanted circumstance comes to challenge you to let go of old ideas about how life is supposed to be. You are not a victim. Rather, you're experiencing the temporary discomfort we all go through before the beauty is revealed. Yeah. Hear, hear. I concur. And yeah, some of the fun other things that came up for me yesterday when I was thinking, I gave some examples of some totems, lion and mouse. So I went and I looked at those today to see what lion and mouse, could help me see about me and in my situation and about what I get to show up and create and what I get to let go of and what I get to allow to unfold for me. And so, yeah, that was super awesome to look at and to see. Just checked up in my little book, Animal Speak by Ted Andrews, been refreshed on mouse and lion because I've worked with them both a lot, but it's been a while. And so it's just kind of fun, like to see that, and that the lion really does represent like the solar light and feminine consciousness, and its power is all year long. And so, yeah, it is just kind of looking at the predator and prey relationship again, and yeah, seeing how all of those aspects work in harmony together, really, and um, seeing everything through that light of the circle, where all things have a place and all things are part of the whole. All things are included. All things are right to be. It's just in the ways that, sometimes we hold them, or we hold or restrict or disallow ourselves in certain ways, like certain energies we haven't claimed or owned or allowed for ourselves. And we can start working with them now. So, yeah, thank you for listening, and thanks for being you. Thanks for playing your part. Thanks for being love for you, for all of us. Yeah, for all of you. All right. Love you. Talk to you later. See you later.